Hi, my name's Michael Hurst. I'm an actor and a director, and I work in television and film, and my greatest passion is the theatre. And ever since I started in theatre, I have been fascinated by the Greeks, Greek tragedies, Greek comedies, by where theatre comes from and why it works the way it does. And in my experience, when people go to theatre and are really moved by it and transformed by it, it's because it hits them on a fundamental level. So for those ancient people who were having their goat dance, that had to be something huge in the community. It would have been a very major part of what they do. And if you think about it, entertainment these days is a major part of what we do. In fact, more so now with the internet than ever. And as a lover of theatre, I want it to work really powerfully. So one of the ways to explore that, for me, was via Greek tragedies, Greek comedies, and exploring what it is that they did, how the issues they related to, or they wrestled with, and how those issues are similar to today, and how we can work on the deep, primitive, ritualistic, deeply psychological things which are expressed in the myths in the first place. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, the most recent production I've done is Lysistrata by Aristophanes, who was, a fantastic comedic writer. It's the third time I've done it. Some things I needed to achieve. Accessibility, how to make it real, how to make it sing to a modern audience. Because the central issue, which most people think is make love not war, yes, that's an aspect of it. The story is that the women under Lysistrata herself decide, at her instigation, that until the men of Athens sign a peace treaty with the men of Sparta, they will withdraw their sexual favours, the women that is, but at the same time, they will dress in all their sexiest dresses and be as alluring as possible and wear perfumes. And in the original, this is really explicit material. They will do this to tease the men. In fact, the play is one long tease, so that the men end up with these giant phalluses under their robes, or in our case, in my production, in their trousers. So this is, yes, at the centre of the play, but moreover, there's another thing that operates, which is about partnership and balance. And until everything is as it should be, it's going to be a mess. The women and the men come together at the end of this play. The treaty is signed, but not until the chorus of old men and the chorus of old women have united. In my case, we reduce the choruses to one old man, one old woman. And the older woman is reduced to saying to her husband, who's all crazy because he's so horny and has been grumpy, and he's all scruffy, and she's saying things like, oh, look at you, look at your hair, what have you done, do your buttons up. And when they come together, when he says, yes, all right then, and she says, you can't do without us. Yeah, I suppose we can't do without you. Until that happens, nothing can happen. None of this whole sexual thing can be resolved. I think that's quite a deep, deep part of the show, and I find it incredibly moving. So we achieved that, I think. So approaching the play, a couple of things. I came across about, I'm going to say 30 years ago now, I came across some brilliant translations of I think a 7th or 6th century BCE poet, Archilochos. And these translations were by Guy Davenport. And I couldn't believe the modernity of the ideas. For example, in the hospitality of war, we left them their dead to remember us by. Fields fattened by corpses. Ares is a Democrat. There are no privileged people on the battlefield. Well, that's genius. Isn't that modern? And that's from, 680 BC or something, it's amazing. Or the struggle with eros, desire. Ah, my friend, desire, the limb loosener, has beaten me down. Oh my God, I love it. And so I thought, what is this material? And I realized that interim period between the 8th century or 9th century when the Iliad was kind of written and classical Greece, there's this period in the middle. They were like the Elizabethans of that period. They traveled all over the place across the Aegean and the Mediterranean. And they struggled, they fought these island cities, a fantastic mosaic of civilization. And they were wrestling with these huge forces. And also the gods were descending into humans, if you see what I mean. It was no longer people being possessed by gods to act. They were realizing that this was going on. And there was a transition so that, you end up in Athens with, it's all in the mind. It's all about thinking, philosophy and all of that. And I got really gripped by this. And so when I came to Lysistrata, I thought, well, in the background of the tradition that Aristophanes, he would have had, must have been this stuff back there, the way we have medieval stuff back in our, And so I thought I will interpolate some of this material into the script of Lysistrata.
Had forgot, like the mountain.
There's a line in the poem where I think the archon or the ruler says, I refuse to take orders from someone wearing a dress. I refuse to take orders from someone wearing a dress. Because I thought, who would think they could even get away with that? Even the most, rampant sexist. So, to make it work, I set it in the early 70s because that's the last time I could imagine it then that people would even think they'd get away with something like that. I won't take orders from someone wearing a dress. So I set it then so that our women could be encased in that world and the men could convincingly be modern, because it's only 30, 40 years ago, but at the same time you look at them and you go, what the? And it worked a treat, because of course then you could also make the women be really beautiful. So the audience came in to what was essentially the kind of groovy 70s look, plus Nana Mouskouri, who was a Greek chanteuse of that time, you might know her. So we did that. Music, really important. Music is at the center of it, Those Greek plays have rhythms in them that are absolutely essential to it. And they were vocal rhythms and chanting, and we did all of that. We assumed that all the women in this play, Lysistrata, Karoniki, Myrrhine, they'd all gone to the same school and they knew the rituals, and so when it came to conjuring Aphrodite or conjuring Athena, they just knew what to do. And I made them do rituals. By the time we got to those points, the audience were completely into it because they'd had really interesting costumes, they were really in a public space, it was funny, it was rude, it was naughty, and they had no problem buying it. Because in the end, actually we're only this far away from where they were. So the music was really, really great, really fascinating. So, run Kalaniki, run. Athena, come down and help us. Run, 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 Kalaniki, run. Run, 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 Kalaniki, run. Athena, come down, help us. So really, with electric guitars, and it was great.
Let no man take shield against shield.
Years ago we did the Trojan Women, and again, this was in 1986 we did this. And my friend John Gibson, a genius of a composer, who somehow, I'm sure he was an ancient Greek. This is the song that, imagine all of the women singing this. We can be sure of one thing, when the gods walked the earth, they walked here in Troy. There was nothing to rival Troy in the whole of Asia. The palaces were built of gold, the streets were wide and sunny. When the harvest was full, they said some God has breathed on our fields. It is well known that one of my forefathers was a god. Who but a god could have moved these giant blocks of stone? They burn like fire up high above Escamandros. It was never hot in the city. There was always a cool breeze. It seems that we have lost the way of pleasing heaven. Isn't that fabulous?